I'm Kelly Carter, and this is Another Act.
When I first met Denzel on the set of Remember the Titans, like, even though I had done a little bit of stuff, I mean, still it was Denzel, really the height of his career, and man, I was totally awestruck by the #1 actor in the world.
Wood, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm good, how are you?
Well, you know, it is always a good day when I get to catch up with you, my Midwest brother. You know, let's start here. What made you say yes to Shooting Stars? What was it about this story in particular?
Very easy to say yes to, because I'm reunited with Chris and Caleb, who we did the New Edition biopic together. So it was almost automatic for me. And then, of course, LeBron James. I mean, doing his story, his life story in this biopic that was well written and working with people I already knew. I mean, it don't get no easier than that.
So let's not ignore the elephant in the room, because there's this obvious connection between you and sports movies or even sports moments, like in The Wire and that really great scene about the basketball game. So let's talk about that, because you're a former athlete, so you weren't necessarily in pursuit of a career in Hollywood. I think the initial pursuit was probably basketball, but when did that pivot happen for you?
Well, I mean, I would say early on in my life, you know, it's easy to see yourself as a basketball player. I'm 6'3", and I was 6'2" when I was, 14. So, it was easy to say, okay, and I was good at the sport of basketball. I grew up with Isaiah Thomas. So I went to his grade school. When I say grew up with him, I went to his grade school, his high school, and we knew of him, and we used to go play ball in his mama's house and stuff. So we had a world-class professional basketball player around us every day. My brother's best friend is his nephew, right? So we just was like, that was just energizing to me. But at the same time, I was always very artistic. I can draw, that type of kid who can draw everything he sees and make music, and everything I touch, I could kind of like do it a little bit in the art world. And so, when I was younger, it was easy to see whether you're gonna be in the pros or not. Like, it was pretty easy. Like, nowadays, it's different. People will go train the kid, and give them 8 hours a day when they're 9 years old. But when I was young, you really just started at the basketball courts. You played basketball on a regular team, and you either emerged, and then you went to college, So I, being from Chicago, I very engineered to believe that. But the pivot happened because when I went to college, I got a acting scholarship, right? So not a basketball scholarship, I got an acting scholarship, which is super unique. And then once that happened, I just stayed on that path.
Well, why is it that you always find yourself over the course of your career gravitating towards these sports stories? I mean, it's obviously a world that you know very well, but you don't have to say yes just because sports is involved. So what is it about sports stories that keeps you coming back time and time again?
To me, and for me, it's not been the actual sports story. It's been the fact that it's a true story, right? Remember the Titans is a true story. Winning Time is a true story. This is a true story. And so, now Creed is not necessarily a true story, but it's associated with Rocky. So it's larger than life, I don't know if I keep coming back to them, or did they come back to me, Like, I feel like I'm just sort of built for those type of stories at this point. It's really any kind of story, but they're true stories, right? So, true stories that happen to be sports elements, so, yeah.
How does that athletic background show up in the work that you do? And I mean, just to give you a little bit of context of why I'm asking that, is a lot of times when I talk to people who were former athletes, whether it was high school, college, or even pro, and then they shifted into the world of the arts, there's something about the structure of sports or the idea of knowing how to be coached that continues to show up in their work. So I'm curious how that shows up for you, if it does at all.
Well, it does, because, when you are a young athlete, right, when you play sports, male or female, you have to engage with a team of people, right? There's timeliness demanded of you. Also, you have to have academic prowess. You can't be a DF student, right? So it energizes a certain discipline that works well on a set, because, now you got to be somewhere at 6 in the morning. They're going to come pick you up at 5 in the morning. stuff that you wouldn't normally necessarily do. Then you guys be there for 12 hours, and you have to work as a teammate. Even if you're the star of it or whatever, you still have to work with a director, producers, makeup people, hair people, wardrobe people, and other castmates. So if you're not a team player and you get into acting, then you might become like some sort of diva or some sort of person whose ego is in front of them all the time. And I'm not raised that way. So I show up as a team player. I don't want to disrespect the art form. I come prepared and stuff like that. It comes from being an athlete. You can't show up unprepared. As an athlete, you need to be prepared, and you need to be able to work hard and stay focused. So those elements work well for you in show business, particularly acting.
What was it like helping to bring the story of LeBron James's childhood to life? And again, I'm asking that, what I just realized? I'm talking to somebody from Chicago, so I'm not even sure that there's any argument there, but I was gonna say, for all intents and purposes, LeBron is regarded as one of the greatest NBA athletes of all time, and most certainly who's playing right now. And I would imagine that some responsibility comes with telling this story, so tell me about that.
Well, you definitely want to do it. You don't want to do a disservice to, this is history. Okay, this is documented history. So this film is a piece of history because LeBron is, right? And so you just don't want to do a disservice to these stories when you're telling a true story, especially the person's alive and he's still active, right? So you want to be as authentic as possible, and you want to be able to tell the story so it doesn't do a disservice to you and definitely not to him. You know what I'm saying? You want to be a caretaker in your performance. So I don't do a disservice to Coach Drew, right? Have people, when he gets stopped at the red light after seeing this movie, and I got them talking about him in some way that's not truthful, right? So my thing is I'm very careful about how I portray people so that it's authentic, and also it doesn't weigh on them afterwards in some kind of negative way, right?
Well, we already know that's not gonna happen. The way I was hitting up Spencer Haywood, I was like, what did you write?
Yeah, I know. I took care of Spencer. You see what I mean? So now you see what I mean. Because you know Spencer Haywood, right?
Yeah. No, I'm from the D originally, so I know.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I know him too.
Right.
I had to take care of that boy. But think about it. Also from that, Magic Johnson complained. Jerry West complained about their portrayal. I don't want that.
No, I love that. So at what point in your career did you get that first moment of validation? Where you said, this is why I'm an actor? Was it a role, or was it something else that happened? Were you ideating and bringing a character to life? When did that moment happen for you?
Honestly, it came before I was in any film or television. It came through me attempting to be involved. So I got into Yale. I got into when I got into Yale and NYU, I was like, well, yo, I must be built for this. 2,000, 3,000 people audition for those schools, and they take 10 to 15 of them, right? So such a low percentage. So I felt very special at that point, and I just felt like I'm never gonna stop. My drive is never gonna stop to do this, and it really hasn't.
Well, I hope by now you know how much of a fan I am of your work. And I think especially when we talked about that first season of BMF, how much of a fan I am of yours and your brothers, and seeing you guys together. That was just a masterclass of acting. It truly was. But who started off this first? Was it your brother or you? How did this all begin?
Well, I started it first, okay? Don't let him tell you nothing different. When you interview him, call him on it if he try to act like he started it first. He might say that because he's older than I am. Right? But I started it first. He wanted to be a football player, me basketball, so you see we different, all right? But I'm probably more artistic than my brother is, right? So, man, I just was dreaming about it probably before him. What's weird though is we kind of started professionally at the same time, because I think my first movie was Above the Rim, and I think that's 94, or it came out in either 94, 93 or 94. And my brother's first film was Sugar Hill with Wesley Snipes, which came out around the same time. So even though he's much older than me, we kind of petered in there at the same time. So, yeah.
You know, when I think about the body of work that you've given us so far and the characters that you brought to life, whether they've been real or fictional, they've been gripping, dramatic, serious roles. Why is it that you think that's the work that calls to you in particular?
That's interesting because, I really don't know. I think that, I'm pretty serious about, I wouldn't say I take life all too seriously, but I'm pretty serious about getting the job done, And I think if it's some of these biopics that I've done, like Remember the Titans and True Stories, even The Wire is true. Avon Barksdale is a real person. So I've been like pushed into position as an actor for most of my career to be authentic because these people are here. Paid in Full, AZ is here. He's alive. Julius Campbell died a few years back, but I knew him. He was alive. I did Jimi Hendrix. I know his family. I got to meet his dad before he died and his niece and stuff like that. So it really makes me want to take care of the people. Like we started talking about Spencer Haywood and all that. Like, yeah.
Is there ever desire to do something on the lighter side for you?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I'm all about comedy moving forward, okay? I want to do something with Tracy Morgan. I want to do something like, I want to go comedy crazy, all right? Because I've done a little bit of it, and it's really a different thing. I said in our interview with LeBron's podcast that drama is like comedy without punchlines, okay? So it's not as difficult as comedy, because drama is just comedy without punchlines. There's no punchline to it. And so it's a challenge to do comedy. One time I did the Arsenio Hall show, the second iteration of his show, and he put me on the spot to do stand-up, right, on the show. So you could YouTube it. You'll see me go do this. It literally put me on the spot. I thought he was gonna have me rap because I could rap. I thought he was gonna, okay, I'm gonna surprise you. I'm gonna have you get out there and go rap, da-da-da. Nah, he said, you think you could do some stand-up? And I was like, yeah. I said, yeah, because I had this joke memorized from a long time ago. I knew I could fall back on this joke that it appeared that I would be stand-up like in my portrayal of the joke. So, I'm definitely going to do more things. I'm directing the next, well, not the next project I do, but a few down the line. It's a project called Black April, and it's humorous and more on the comedy side. I'm in it, of course. I'm in it, and I'm directing it, and yeah. So I'll definitely, you'll get to laugh a little bit. I hope you laugh a little bit. Even when I play a serious character, or what's deemed as a serious character, I'm trying to find where their humor is. Or if I'm playing a humorous character, I'm trying to see when they're serious so we don't have a one-note performance, right? So
I love what you said, and I want to make sure I got that right. You said that drama is comedy without a punchline?
It is. That's pretty much what it is. It's comedy without punchlines. Yeah, that's what it is.
Wow, that's such a beautiful sentence, especially because what's happening is, and this is like a Rolodex in my mind right now, flipping through the characters that you played, is that something that you've been doing from the onset of your career is finding the comedy in someone like an Avon. You know what I mean? Some of these darker characters in some ways that you brought to life.
Well, sometimes it's not really the comedy I'm trying to find. I'm a humoristic person, so when I get a script, I almost look for the humor in it. I almost can't help it, right? But in a dark role like Avon Barksdale, or somebody that's a gangster or someone in that world, I'm not really trying to find what's humorous, what's funny to them, but more like they make those people look dumb a lot, right? You think, oh, stupid criminal or whatever, or just a bad guy. So I want you to relate to a person who you might think is bad, right? Because I'm from Chicago, you from the D, so we know a lot. I know Trick Trick. Trick Trick is, I could say, is a friend of mine, okay? So if I had to portray Trick Trick, I know that he can be funny. I know that he's very talented. I don't really know the G part. I know of it, but my experience ain't like that, right? So how would I portray him honestly, right? I would have to engage those elements to his personality, and he's very smart. He's very smart. A lot of times when they write characters that are bad, they make them almost not that smart either, right? And so I like to, with bad guy characters, so to speak, I like to lean on how smart they might be, or how clever they might be away from criminal thinking, right? So.
You know, I think another way that we can say what you just said is that you find the humanity in people that we often don't give humanity to.
I like that. I'm still in that. So if somebody asks me that again, I'm gonna say I made it up and everything. Like.
And you know what happens is that I obviously talk to a lot of Black actors, and the roles that they're taking on are really in that dramatic, gripping, dark, serious space of work. And so what I've heard from a lot of them is that they really try to find the humanity in a drug dealer or a murderer or someone like that. And to me, it feels like you're giving grace to a character or to a community or to people who don't think that there's something redeeming about these people that you guys are bringing to life too. And yeah, you know, that's that NYU that you're bringing to these characters.
True indeed. Yep, true indeed.
And I think that's really beautiful. So we know what you look for when you have the character and when you're processing them and bringing them to life. But what do you look for before you get it? Like, what has to be on the page for you to say yes at this point in your career?
You mean in the script? I try to look for something I haven't done, you know. So I wanted to diversify the way I appear. And so I start with really that, and how challenging it is. You know, if it's very challenging, then I know it narrows down the talent pool. So I really don't like to do a role anybody can do, because anybody can do it. And so I like the roles to be very challenging and to measure me against a bigger challenge. So yeah, I guess that's some of it.
No, I love that. You know, you've also worked with just truly marquee talent in this town, like people who you just need to say one name. You don't even have to give them the full name.
What you mean, like Denzel? Or you mean like Idris? You mean like Idris? Either one.
Now see, I was gonna go Denzel, but Idris works too. That's another name.
Tupac. You talking about Tupac?
Tupac, you gotta throw Pac in there. But what's so great is I would venture to say, like, in the last 7 or 8 years of your career, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, Wood.
I won't.
I don't. But you're like the OG on set now, and that has to feel different for you at this point in your career. Tell me a little bit about that too.
That's a special place to be. You know, you're very fortunate as an actor if you can get to that, where young talent come on the set and they're like, that's how I was when I first met Denzel on the set of Remember the Titans. Like, even though I had done a little bit of stuff, I mean, still it was Denzel, really the height of his career, and man, I was totally awestruck by the #1 actor in the world. But what I got from him was, man, he still felt like a regular guy, okay? Even though he was Denzel, #1 guy in the world who every girl loved, right? He still felt like, man, the homie, like, okay? So I love that, and despite feeling like a regular person around you, he still had a high level of professionality on the set. So I got that from him, you know, like, so now when I'm like BMF and I'm working with Little Meech or the cast, they do show me reverence in that similar way, right? Outwardly. Oh man, they say that, man, oh man, I love you, man, you the OG, this and that, blah, blah, blah. I want them to feel comfortable so that they can ask me a question, even though I'm okay if I'm not looking for no questions or whatever. I trust the young actors and I like the young talent. The other way around, it wasn't always that way. Coming up, older talent didn't really like care for they look at you like the young lion come try to take the pride, you know? So they didn't regard you necessarily as, okay, I like that young talent, man, he's dope, he's gonna be great, da, da, da. They really looked at it like, let me protect who I am from these talented people who are emerging in this acting world, right? So, you know, I'm not that way though. Like I love the cast of Shooting Stars, they're great guys. And I like the nostalgia of working with young actors because I remember me coming on the set, you know, and being like, man, how does this work? Like, okay, I see the camera, but what's going on? Right? Letting myself be available to grow within the craft, so yeah.
Do you think it's because of the length of time that you spent working now in Hollywood? I mean, you're running up on, what, 3 decades of a career, I believe, right? That's a long time.
Long time.
But is that where the desire to now pivot and direct comes from? Is it that you're ready to coach now because you've been coached for 3 decades, you're ready to be a head coach?
Yes, I would say part of it is that. I think that, you know, I think it's a natural evolution. I produced before. I produced Next Day Air, and I produced other movies and TV even. But I really look forward to just the directing thing. And I'm in it, okay? I'm in the things I'll direct. I'll be in those projects. Because then I can truly show you the way I want to show you. Show me the way I want to, right? And I have wonderful opportunity now because I'm just even more famous now than ever, right? So my daughter's 19. I get to direct her, right? And get her involved into this craft the right way, I feel, you know. Nurture her career a little bit in the beginning. So, you know, I think it's a natural pivot for those who are very creative types, right? Because it's a lot of work being a director. You spend even more than 12 hours, right? So, yeah, and I literally can't wait to do it. So I'm poised to do it.
I love hearing that. And as I always say, I love when actors get behind the camera. Those are my favorite directors, I think, because you guys really know what it takes to execute the thing that you're asking your actors to do. So I love seeing how you guys show the world through your particular lens. Okay, Wood, I lied earlier in our conversation because I am going to ask you if you had a fun conversation with LeBron James about his space in the NBA world. I'm going to go ahead and assume that because I'm talking to this Chicago dude that you're a big Jordan fan too.
Of course, I'm a big Jordan fan. I'm a big Jordan fan. You know, I commit to Jordan being the GOAT, you know what I mean? But what I figured out is this, though. Now, I didn't have any long, lengthy conversation with LeBron because I didn't need it for the role. I had met him before, you know, so I didn't really need it for the role. I met him briefly during Space Jam. I did that movie. And so, you know, I didn't feel like I needed to have a conversation with him because this movie is about him before he was LeBron. Right? He was just Bron out of Akron, okay? And so we're showing the most relatable aspect of his life. His struggle, his camaraderie, his youthful boyness that we didn't see. We came seeing an 18-year-old dude who was already #1, right? Who became a bigger #1 and then became the one, okay? Because here's the deal with Jordan and LeBron. Michael Jordan is the GOAT, but so is LeBron. Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time in his era, by far and for sure. And I would say the same about LeBron James, right? He is the greatest of all time in his era. He literally outscored everybody in the NBA. Like, it's without question. They say there's a Mount Rushmore. All it needs is two faces.
All right, I'm gonna let you go. Even though I went to the University of Magic Johnson State, I'm an MSU grad.
Oh, Magic was the bomb, though.
No, I'm messing with you, Wood. No, I always love talking to you. Continued success. Keep doing your thing, and I can't wait to talk to you about being a director next time.
For sure. I see you.